Hospitality Group, and I'm pleased to be able to present to you today's topic for Think Tank Thursday. I think this is our 5th or 6th Think Tank Thursday that we've had this year, and again, I think we've got a great topic to discuss with you and share with you. I wanted to just share with you a few kind of rules of the road, how we're going to operate the webinar, and let you know how you can participate in terms of questions and answers. Our focus today is on 2014 hotel digital marketing trends. And I'll give you a little more information and insight on that in just a moment. But first, a few rules of the road, if you will. This is an open forum. Questions are welcome. So we've got a couple of ways that you can ask questions of our panelists. One, in the question or in the webcast control area, there's a button that allows you to input a question. You can send your questions that way, or as we get into the Q&A portion of the session, you can raise your hand by clicking on the raise your hand icon, and then we'll make sure we leave adequate time at the end of the presentation to allow you to ask your questions and to provide answers on those. As a courtesy to all participants, all of your phones have been placed on mute. If you do raise your hand and you want to ask a question, I'll unmute you during the Q&A session so you can ask the question. And finally, we're recording this webinar, and it'll be made available for future playback at the VantageAcademy.com website. In addition to that, all of our prior webcasts are already on the site, so if you want to go back and listen in on a session you may have attended or were unable to attend, please feel free to do so. As I said, our topic today is on 2014 hotel digital marketing trends. And one of the things we keep hearing within the industry is that demand has been approaching all-time highs in terms of occupancy levels across the hotel industry when you look at the data coming from organizations like STR and PKF. And clearly, online and digital marketing is an integral element of any marketing program within the lodging industry, not only for the brands, but for the OTA sites, meta search sites, etc. And with that high demand, all these organizations, brands, OTAs, meta search sites, are competing for the same potential guests. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the key trends that are impacting digital marketing for hotels. And over the last several years, we've at Vantage have had a strong relationship with GCommerce, a digital marketing company based in Park City, Utah, that's focused solely on the lodging industry. As I said, we've worked with them from the brand level in the implementation of a number of programs. So it's our pleasure today to have our speakers from GCommerce to share their knowledge on these key trends in hotel digital marketing. We have Denise Cooper, who's the Vice President of Marketing for GCommerce, and Lisa McCreary, a search marketing account manager who specifically works with Vantage Hospitality. And I think it's key to note before I introduce Denise and Lisa that a lot of what you're going to hear today may seem overwhelming, but it's issues that we're working with our partners on a daily basis in terms of brand marketing. So a lot of the things you're going to hear about we're doing from a brand level, you may be looking to do things at a property website level. So hopefully today's presentation will give you some insights and some ideas on how to best deal with the challenge of marketing your site specifically. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Denise and Lisa, and hope you enjoy the session. Again, we'll open it up to Q&A once the presentation has been completed. Denise, Lisa?
Excellent. Thank you, John. Good day to all of you, and thank you for joining us for our overview of just some of the top digital marketing trends that we see today in the hotel industry. As John said, my name is Denise Cooper. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for GCommerce. And just a quick note on my background, I have more than 30 years of experience in marketing and sales. Yeah, I'm a bit of an old person, but more than 20 years at AT&T working with Fortune 500 companies, including many hotel brands. At GCommerce, I've been here for about 8 years and have responsibility for not only our marketing team but our innovation lab. In the lab, we're constantly testing new marketing strategies and techniques to drive incremental revenue for our clients. Lisa McCreary is also here with me, and she'll be doing part of the presentation. She's a search marketing account manager, as John mentioned, and she's been with GCommerce for more than 5 years. In her role, Lisa researches, develops, and executes search engine marketing strategies. This includes managing paid search campaigns, specifically for Vantage Hospitality and ABVI, search engine optimization strategies, and staying ahead of ever-changing trends in the industry. With that, and there we are. With that, let's go ahead and jump into rising cost per acquisition as our first topic. The other topics we'll cover today are how to leverage big data, advancement. Yes.
Denise, sorry to interrupt, but we're not seeing your screen yet. Can you?
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
Oh, no problem.
Here we go. That's odd that it kicked out.
Looks good now.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. So today's topics, as I mentioned, we'll start right in with rising costs per acquisition. We'll talk also about how to leverage big data. We'll then go into advancements in search marketing, local and its continued importance, Google Hotel Finder as the final topic. So let's go into rising costs per acquisition. The days of a consumer going into Google, searching a city like Kansas City, and then searching for a hotel in Kansas City, clicking on your website, and that might have been through paid, organic, or a local listing, those days are gone. Today's consumers are truly digital explorers with many different avenues to book, and there are many influence points along the way. There are many intermediaries now who want to take a piece of your hotel booking chain, and they want a piece of that commission or a piece of that price that the client or that the customer books. All of these intermediaries are important to converting a shopper into a booker, and all typically have some sort of cost associated along the way. Understanding these different paths of influence points along with the cost of each and how they contributed to a final booking or not are absolutely key to the success and effectively managing the cost of acquisition. On top of expanding slices of revenue that are already paid to long-standing intermediaries like the GDS and all the OTAs, there now exist meta-mediaries like Google Hotel Finder, TripAdvisor, Kayak, and Trivago, and there are lots of others as well. The new emerging model is not necessarily to build a transaction-based travel site like Expedia, but really just to capture the consumer and pass them along to the supplier site or to your websites for a small fee. Whether they book or not doesn't seem to matter as long as they capture that fee. A recent multi-year study was released by Hospitality Asset Managers Association that suggests that those commissions that you're paying to those distribution partners are really growing more rapidly than the pace of revenue, and in some cases almost twice as fast. The future of revenue management, of course, lies in understanding all of these different booking paths and what effect that has on your pricing strategies. When you look at trying to be a successful revenue manager, I feel for all of you, it's a tough job at this point, and it's becoming more complex by the day. You need to be able to adapt your strategies and the tools that you're using to measure the impact you're having to make sure that you can create a pricing strategy that will work and that will optimize your revenue. We'll get into big data in just a minute, but technology has the ability to help you in tracking some of this rising cost of acquisition and how it can affect your pricing strategy. So revenue strategy really calls for the integration of not only day-to-day pricing, but what is the impact of marketing, sales, and operations costs on that specific price that you're charging. To tackle these distribution complexities, regain control of your bottom line, you must implement really highly integrated and flexible pricing strategies with the objective of net revenue optimization. So just to focus for just a minute on the fact that revenue management and revenue strategy is really, really getting complex, and technology, as we'll talk about in just a few minutes, will help lead the way to giving you some insight on that. Big data, that's another big trend, and it's a big topic of conversation. We'll only touch a few high points today. This is an opportunity really to change online marketing for the future. It's creating a fresh paradigm, and there's a way to get underneath some of the information that you would have always loved to have had. GCommerce has fully embraced big data and is working with our clients to utilize big data in a really practical way. We're doing this through strategic partnerships that impact our hotel's marketing and revenue performance, and we've seen incredible results from it. One of the impressive opportunities on this is data-driven display advertising and remarketing. It sounds like a mouthful, but if you think about traditional advertising, was really buying a banner ad on a site. It was tapping into really throwing ads out there and hoping that they would stick, really focusing on the top of the marketing funnel. Typically, we didn't get very many conversions compared to other media sources. Think now about replacing that with data-driven advertising. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. There are a number of companies and partnerships that we've established that offer to provide audience insights. So let me give you an example to really bring it to life. Let's say you went out on Delta Airlines site and you booked a ticket to go to Kansas City, and you were anxious to take the next step and look at a hotel. What we want to know is we want to know, how do we get an ad in front of you for the ABVI location in Kansas City so that you can book them before you look at anybody else. So the idea behind this relationship with some of the strategic partners we've developed is to provide really what we call first-party data, or giving an insight into someone who is traveling to your destination and in real time present them an ad that allows you to capture that individual and book them with your hotel. The other thing about data-driven display advertising is we're using lots of different data platforms now, or bidding platforms, to grab those ads in real time and make sure that we grab the individuals that we want to present an ad to. The real-time bidding optimization, if you really think of almost a stock exchange kind of environment, we can look at those different ads in real time and decide if that individual is worth it to us to bid a certain amount of money. The reason this is so important is by using a platform such as this, real-time bidding allows us to bid much more quickly than we used to be able to do in past years, where we would have an individual actually looking and setting bid prices on a more static basis. What this does for you is it eventually reduces your cost per acquisition with this algorithmic driven bidding. The next piece that I wanted to talk about very briefly is remarketing. And remarketing is really when someone comes to the America's Best Value In website and departs without booking. So we want to grab that individual wherever they go to search on the website and present an ad to them. So in utilizing website analytics data, we can actually now perform remarketing campaigns that are targeted at visitors who met certain qualities, such as site visitation, time on site, page views. Perhaps they entered with your fall booking opportunity. We want to be able to know that so we can present an ad that actually has that fall booking as the prompt. So we want to place unique offers and really maintain top-of-mind awareness with them through display campaigns as they continue to search around the web. I know that's a little bit on the creepy side, but it's great fun from a marketing perspective. The next piece that I wanted to talk about in terms of big data is really about email and ECRM solutions. GCommerce believes that some of the best of breed ECRM solutions out there are ZDirect and Navis, and we've actually formed strategic alliances with these companies to support our hotels, and I know ZDirect certainly is what Vantage Hospitality and America's Best Value Inns uses. Email marketing and ECRM can still be one of the most powerful marketing arrows in a hotel's quiver. I know a lot of people say email marketing, oh, that's, that's old stuff. We're not, that's not very powerful. Well, it is very powerful and can continue to be so for you. The one thing about it, however, is that the approach to spray and pray, or an e-blast approach, if you will, is not as effective as it could be. And so if you really want to produce premium results, you really need to focus in on how can you be more specific or more personalized with that email. And I don't just mean from the standpoint of saying, hello, Denise Cooper. Using my name and then giving me generic content doesn't really catch it. So what we want to do is we want to dive into the data that's provided through a ZDirect platform and really start to mine that big data and use it to our advantage. When we do this, email open rates have shown an increase of about 350% because we've customized some of these emails to the guest preference. Customization also boosts conversion rates by as much as 50%. So when you think about how to do that, how do you mine that data and really focus on providing a more personalized email? Think about the fact that you know when people's birthdays are. You could do a triggered email for a birthday. You ultimately want to get to that type of segment of one, but it's also very effective when you put customers in segments that can be marketed to but still very relevant. So for example, let's say someone came and stayed at a hotel, an ABVI hotel in Kansas City, and wanted to and had a great time in September of last year. You can literally pull out that information from the database and send them an email along with everyone else that stayed the same time last September and pitch them to come back this September. Even items as small as that cause the individual to understand that there's relevance there and increase the ability to book. Another way to tap into big data is through social media. Facebook is an amazing advertising platform, and social media marketing really offers you now an opportunity, especially through Facebook, to really find the right audiences. Facebook has something called custom audiences, and it allows advertisers to really target their ads to users who are quote-unquote customized to view your ads. Think about it, you have a database of emails for your existing customers. We can literally take that email database list, load it onto Facebook. Facebook will then take the characteristics of that email list and match it with data that they have on Facebook on other individual profiles. Once they match that database to the consumers that they have on Facebook, they create a like audience, if you will. So they'll go out and look for everyone that has characteristics that are very similar to the database that you loaded. This is a terrific opportunity to really effectively use big data to perform sort of targeted social media ad campaigns. The advantages of this are really you can save time and money because once you've loaded up your audience and they've created this like audience, Facebook allows you to exclude the existing audience. So you're not now sending email offers that are intended to acquire new customers to existing customers as well. The second thing that's a real advantage of using this is that you can get more Facebook likes for your Facebook page. In addition, you can drive more conversions by targeting customers who meet your typical guest profile. So really a great advantage in using Facebook custom audience, and it's only one way through social media that we can tap into big data. Now I'd like to turn the time over to Lisa, who is going to go into big data as it applies to search marketing. Lisa?
Hello, everyone. Okay, so diving into big data as it relates to paid campaigns. One of the tools we utilize for tracking paid search and paid media campaigns is called Adobe Media Optimizer. When it comes to big data, the issue is not acquiring it. We are buried in big data when it comes to your paid media campaigns, whether it's search, display, or social. The more important aspect is deciphering the data and making it actionable. Adobe Media Optimizer not only allows us to do this, it also actively optimizes bids in real time, as well as providing extremely accurate predictions on budget allocation, which in turn allows us to reduce cost per acquisition and drive increased return on investment. Adobe Media Optimizer also analyzes your historical paid search data to provide accurate predictions on how much revenue you'll be receiving at what amount of budget. It really allows you to find your saturation point and answer the question, at what point or what amount of budget will you exceed your desired return on ad spend. Without using a third-party management tool such as Adobe Media Optimizer, it's really difficult to understand how much you should be spending. A lot of times you're just making an initial guess based on past information you have for other campaigns in a similar market and then adjusting from there. With Adobe, we can now understand where you start losing budget and adjust depending on the efficiency of that budget. Now getting deeper into more of the evolution of SEO. As some of you might be aware, Google has really changed the factors it utilizes to rank your website. Over the past year, there's been over 500 algorithm changes alone. A few years ago, Google only used a small segment of inputs to rank your website. It's taken a big shift. So now Google uses a lot of other marketing channels to assess your relevancy for a search. This could include social, whatever PR you're doing, brand awareness, and also paid search. On the other hand, Google is now taking away some data, which is due to a lot of laws passed due to privacy issues. A lot of you might be seeing the term not provided in your organic search results a lot more than it used to be. We've seen this take up to about 70 to 80% of your organic traffic results. So they're making it a little more difficult to find out exactly what search queries people are using to land on your site. Next, when it comes to what attribution model you want to utilize, it's important to understand that organic is not the only channel to focus on. You need to understand the true path of how a consumer arrives at your website, which is what Denise had been mentioning. There's so many different touch points. So you need to make sure you're visible across as many channels as possible. In terms of assessing performance for SEO, you typically look at 3 different reports. The first one, you'll see it listed as SERP a lot. This is search engine ranking position. You also want to look at your traffic reports, what keywords are producing the most amount of traffic. And the final piece to look at is revenue. What organic keywords are producing what revenue. And you can't really look at any of these separately to get the best picture. You really need to look at all of these together to see how your SEO efforts are truly performing. At the end of the day, it's not just about traffic. It's about the revenue that's behind that traffic. Many of the hoteliers that we work with typically use traffic to gauge success. It's important to look beyond that. You really want to make sure you're looking at revenue as well as traffic and how your pages are ranking to get a true picture of performance. It's also important to realize that although Google's landscape has changed and they're requiring you to play in so many different sources, whether it's paid or organic, organic still tends to produce as much as 30% of overall website revenue. And this is definitely due to the last click attribution, which is what you'll find in Google Analytics. They're saying that whichever was the last click, someone came through and then booked, that's who gets credited for the ultimate revenue. So they're usually finding you on all of these different channels while they're doing research, and then finally typing in the name of your property and booking through an organic search result. Some of you may have your own standalone website, so we definitely wanted to touch on a few different tips for making sure that website is optimized for organic. The first is making sure your site is fast and easy to navigate. If your site isn't loading quickly, or if a visitor can't navigate easily, they're going to bounce off pretty immediately. It's surprising to look at stats of how much of a split second it takes in slow load time for somebody to bounce right off. Next, you want to make sure to include meaningful, keyword-rich content that communicates property features, experience, and benefits. Thirdly, incorporating images and video into the site is extremely important. Making sure that the media that you do include communicates the property experience, and making sure whether it's images or video, making sure they're optimized with the title of the media as well as alt text. Fourth, you want to make sure to implement optimized metadata, and this includes page titles as well as meta descriptions for each page. Next, you definitely want to make sure your website is optimized for mobile. People are more and more using their smartphones to do searches on Google and ultimately land on your website. And if your website's hard to look at, if you can't book through your website on a mobile device, you're really going to be losing out on a lot of revenue. 6, make sure you're using a URL structure that is keyword-rich and simple to understand, which is both important for both the search engine crawlers as well as for consumers. Lastly, make sure you're creating an XML sitemap and submitting it to Google Webmaster Tools. What this does is it allows Google to know exactly which pages you want it to crawl, and it allows it to crawl your website much faster. Next, we're going to be talking more about local search engine marketing specifically. A lot of the updates we've seen from Google within the past couple of months have been specifically targeted at local search. So looking at why local SEO matters, just some stats in terms of local searches. Right now, 45% of all internet searches are local. It allows you to look at extremely highly targeted and timely visitors to your site. A lot of people that are using local search are looking for a same-day booking. It also allows your property to show up in the highly coveted Google Carousel and Map Pack. And then specifically in terms of local for mobile, we're seeing about 30 to 40% of the current Vantage website traffic is mobile. So it's extremely important to make sure that you're visible and utilizing local SEO. The Map Pack, which also is tied to your local efforts, actually shows up above any other organic results on mobile devices. And then lastly, 95% of smartphone users have conducted a local search from their phone, which really shows you, how much local search and mobile are connected and how important it is to be visible on both. When it comes to local search marketing, in terms of what matters most and where you should focus your efforts, the first is reviews. These definitely have the highest impact of all of these topics and are the most valuable thing to invest your time into. They also require the lowest amount of effort. You could only spend about 30 minutes on trying to get more reviews, and promote past guests to post reviews on sites, and really do a good job at boosting your presence. Next is optimizing your website for local. You want to make sure that throughout your keyword-rich site that you're including city and state, just to make sure that the search engines know where you are and make sure to show you for relevant search queries. Next, you want to make sure you're connected with a Google Plus listing. I saw a stat just the other day that only about 10% of businesses have claimed their local listing. So claiming it is a great way to get a leg up on the competition. And luckily for all of you guys, since you're part of the Vantage brand, this is all managed for you. Next refers to citations, which are also very important for local optimization. This includes getting accurate and complete listing information on the major data aggregators and making sure to clean up duplicate listings as well as multiple spellings of your property, which fortunately is also managed by the Vantage brand. So one less thing that you guys need to focus on. Finally, you should focus on getting links into your site. This is a big, big, big part of it. Getting links from local schools, businesses, nonprofits that are directed at your site actually shows Google and the search engines that you're an authority in the local market. To do all of the local search marketing optimization effectively, it usually takes around 40 hours, but we're all strapped for time, and knowing what to focus on if you only have a limited amount of time, we wanted to kind of just do a short list of the top priorities of what you should focus on. The first and foremost, like I mentioned before, is reviews. These really have the highest impact in terms of visibility. Promoting to get guests to post reviews on different review sites, such as Google Plus or Yelp, is extremely important. One great tool that I've found for this is called get5stars.com. It really helps you get a plan together and encourage guests to post reviews. Next would be optimizing your website for local. You want to make sure your landing page that you're linking to from local listings is optimized for local, including schema.org markup for name, address, and phone number, as well as writing high-quality, descriptive content about your property. Next would be claiming and optimizing your Google Plus local listing. Again, this is managed for you by Vantage. This would include cleaning up duplicate listings in Google Maps, selecting good categories within Google Plus, which is really the only way to optimize the listing per se. And just one thing to remember when optimizing your listing, you do not want to stuff your listing description with keywords. This is actually something that Google will look down upon and may actually penalize you for. And finally is getting citations, getting one accurate and complete listing on all the major data aggregators, which is one of the things that Vantage brand covers for you. Okay. And the next topic we're going to touch on is the highly coveted how to compete on the first page of Google. A lot of times when we're talking to clients, this is their #1 question: how do we get on the first page? And as we touched on before, there used to be a lot less paid placements on the first page. It used to be mostly organic results, maybe a few paid ads on the top and the side. What you're really seeing is a whole new landscape on Google's first page. So looking at this slide, you'll see on the top is the Google carousel. You'll see further down in the listings is Google Hotel Finder sponsored ads, and then on the right side is the Google Map Pack. In 2009, Marissa Mayer, who's the current CEO of Yahoo, was asked to lead the local monetization project at Google. And what that resulted in was the development of what is now called Google Hotel Finder. This was first introduced in around late 2011, early 2012, and allowed Google to partner with OTAs specifically and CRS providers to display rates and inventory directly within Google search results. Today, hotels actually have the ability to display their own rates and inventory directly, which is great. It allows you to connect directly into Google's first page of results. So what Google Hotel Finder set out to do was truly to compete with the OTAs, the Expedias of the world, and provide a similar shopping experience. One of these features includes displaying pricing and availability for hotels. In order to participate, you do need to, Google does require that all APIs that feed the system have a 95% verified data feed in terms of availability, rates, and inventory. And this just means they want your inventory and rates to be consistent across all channels. So that's just the one thing they do require in terms of your feed. Another feature of Google Hotel Finder that is very similar to other comparison shopping sites is the geolocation search. And one great thing that differentiates Google here is you'll see on the slide a consumer can actually click and highlight an area of the map in which they want to stay, and Google will just populate those specific hotels in the search. So I personally love this feature and think that it really beats out what Expedia offers. Another feature of Google Hotel Finder that is very similar to what you're going to find on an Expedia is the review feature, and really tying into what we just discussed about a local search, having your Google Plus listing, because this is all tied together through Google Plus. The reviews come from your same Google Plus listing and will display on this Google Hotel Finder results for searches in your market. Lastly, if you want to compete on the first page of Google, you want to make sure you're visible inside Google Maps. This is also connected through Google Plus, just really making sure you're claiming your listing, optimizing your listing, and you have consistent data across all of these channels is extremely important. When you're looking at mobile searches, the Google Map Pack actually appears above any other organic listings that are going to show up on your mobile device. So when someone's on the road, they're searching for a hotel on their mobile device, and they do a search for a local hotel, this is what they're going to see first. They're going to see this map pack along with the list of properties that are around them. So in review, just some cute takeaways that we wanted to highlight. First, understanding each booking's cost per acquisition through an attribution model. Making sure you're breaking down the data silos that are available through all the big data that you have to actually utilize it to find new customers. Utilizing those big data partners to optimize your budget allocations to make sure you're truly getting the highest return on ad spend for all of your paid digital campaigns. If you do have a standalone website, make sure you're focusing on foundational SEO techniques, and definitely making understood that SEO isn't dead. You hear that around a lot. People saying, "Oh, is SEO dead?" It's truly not. It's just evolved from basic inputs to include so many more pieces. You also want to make sure you're using local optimization to truly compete on that first page of Google. There's no other way. We understand that local can be extremely overwhelming and there's a lot to focus on, but if you don't have a ton of time, making sure you're spending that time on reviews and getting guests to post reviews is probably the most important. You also want to use those third-party data aggregators to syndicate your name, address, and phone number. Just making sure everything is consistent across the web, you'll definitely see a boost in traffic and performance. And finally, working with your booking engine or corporate office to display your availability rates and inventory on Google Hotel Finder.
Great. So I think, John, we're at an end on the content that we had. Of course, we'd love to chat with everyone and answer any questions. We could literally talk about these things for hours because we really, are passionate and get off on this stuff. So let us know, John, any questions that might be coming through at this point?
Yeah, I've got a couple here. I'd like to, again, invite everyone, if you've got a question, feel free to click on the raise your hand icon or just type your question into the box on the webcast control area, and we'll fire those at Denise and Lisa. We have a good 15 minutes or so, but we'll walk through those. I did want to reiterate a few things, and Lisa covered most of them, but many of the things that were mentioned here are things that we're doing on behalf of member properties through the brand marketing budget. So things like participating on meta search sites and showing your rates through those, including Google Hotel Finder. Distributing your property information out to literally thousands of websites through these aggregation companies that basically distribute business information or business listing information to their clients that subscribe to their data services. Working on this puzzle of what's the best way to spend the marketing dollars that we have allocated to online marketing. So that's an ongoing challenge for us at the brand level. Certainly there may be opportunities that you have if you've got your own property website that you're trying to build traffic to. But if you have questions on any of this, I think as you go through the next couple of months, feel free to reach out to your member care managers. If they don't have the answers, they'll certainly walk down the hall, grab me, or grab one of the folks that works with me on the digital marketing side, and we'll get an answer for you. So Denise, I do have a question here that came in that relates to something you mentioned earlier. The example being somebody just booked an airline ticket to Kansas City. So the question is, you mentioned you can bring ABVI advertising in front of that customer. At the same time, aren't Choice, Wyndham, and others doing the same thing? What would make the customer choose ABVI?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things that we try to do in this booking window is the opportunity to present the ad in a very timely fashion. What we'll do is we'll be looking at not only the fact that they clicked on that booking, the opportunity to book that flight, but in addition, we'll be looking at the characteristics of that person in a profile approach. So when we use first-party data partners, such as the ones that we've got in line, we do look at other characteristics within their profile. So these partners are tracking customers over a period of time, and they know that this person travels to Kansas City particularly on a regular basis, or that they have a tendency and have booked perhaps at hotels in the America's Best Value Inn type of hotel in the past. So we can literally start to get a little bit more qualified in our approach, so that you're not necessarily competing and paying advertising dollars with Wyndham and so forth. So it's all based on how we can focus the targeting of the individual's profile and how much we want to pay for that individual to place an ad, as it is a big exchange where you are constantly competing and bidding for ad space. I hope that answered the question.
Okay, great. I have a hand raised out on the West Coast, none other than our esteemed CEO and President, Roger Bloss. Roger, I'm going to unmute you, and you can ask your question.
Well, thank you, and good morning, and nice job, ladies. I really always look forward to Think Tank Thursdays because they really make me think as well. And I think, John, you addressed this, but the first question, then probably raised my hand before you addressed it. But I'm sitting here listening to the ladies' presentation, and a lot of it seemed like it was brand initiatives rather than property-level initiatives. Can we explain to the audience what is the brand doing for them versus what they should be doing on their own so that there aren't extra expenses and time? And then my second part of my questions is, this is a lot to understand. I mean, you ladies do this every day. John, you do it every day. I kind of listen to it every day. So how do I manage this within my hotel? Or because I'm part of Vantage Hospitality as a member, is this something my brand manager and SSAP do for me, do with me? And then my third question is, how important is a PMS in all this equation?
Good questions all. I'll take a crack at those, Roger. You know, certainly from the brand perspective, and I touched on this, we're doing a lot of this. You know, it's what we live and breathe every day, as you said. I think where it comes into play for our member properties, kind of two streets, if you will. If you don't have your own property website, that's fine. But there are things you can be doing to make sure that we're optimized with your presence on the brand website. So, you know, things as elementary as, do we have the right content for your property on our website? You know, all those local attractions, are they listed on your page? Local restaurants, do we have the right, you know, the exact right address? All that information is critical to showing up in search engine results, et cetera. So, you know, make sure you review that on a regular basis. And if you have issues or additions to make or things that should come off of there, you know, convey that to your member care manager or SSAP. They'll get it to the folks here who can make that change in the system so that we're you know, better optimized for local search. If you do have a property website, you know, understand what kind of goes on behind the scenes in order for you to get a solid presence in, you know, search result listings. You know, unlike the Field of Dreams in the movie with Kevin Costner, you know, if you build it, they will come. That doesn't necessarily convey when you're talking about websites. If you market it properly, if you optimize it properly, et cetera, yeah, then they'll come. Those visitors will come, but it's not just as simple as throwing up a site and putting it out on the web and then waiting for the bookings to pour in. You know, frankly, there are a lot of people out there competing for that consumer who's looking for a hotel in your town, USA. So, you know, keep that in mind. And again, if you do opt to build out your own website and you want, you know, support from us, contact that member care manager, and we'll get the information you need to position yourself better for success. I think as it relates to the PMS, Roger, you know, I think Denise talked a lot about the sources of information. So it could be, you know, a lot of what's out there today in terms of this big data is companies that aggregate all that information and then make it available to companies who want to do some of that remarketing. You know, the best place, quite frankly, for a hotel brand to go to for that kind of information would be, you know, their current base of customers. Where does that reside? It resides in the property management system. So there's power in the idea of having 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 hotels with an aggregation of data about customers, their travel patterns, or at least their stay patterns with us, and that type of thing, and being able to kind of contribute to that data mix that is utilized to determine when we should serve up an ad to a given individual who matches the profile. So, I think it all plays into, the long term, how are we going to be better able to identify those targets of opportunity and get our message in front of them. And Denise, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think you did a beautiful job of handling that. I mean, it is truly just making use of all of that incredible data that's available to you. So, and you guys are doing a great job on that.
Okay. Roger, did we address your questions?
Yeah, I still sit here as a member. I'm putting myself in the member seat and saying, I pay a lot of money, pay good money to be part of the Vantage family, and I want to make sure that I'm utilizing all the resources that I'm paying for, that I'm entitled to. So I just want to make sure that people realize how much we do and what they should do to supplement what we do for their own local marketing. And I think that's an educational topic we should probably have later. But it's a thought that I want to make sure people understand, and especially our team understands that, typically people join a brand for all of these resources. And this is a tremendous resource, because I can tell you, sitting in this chair, I'm thinking, this is overwhelming to me as an operator. I still haven't checked my rooms. I still haven't gone to the bank. I still haven't done all my things. So to put that all into my day, I'd like to know that Vantage has got my back, if you will.
Yeah, and I believe we truly do, Roger. And frankly, we love for the members to ask for, how can we do this together a little bit better so I can get some more rooms filled.
Good.
So that's really what we're looking to do. Our goal here is to help drive reservations, period.
Thank you. I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Any other questions come up? I do have one that I can address easily, and the question was, or the statement, I missed some of this presentation. How soon will it be available on Vantage Academy? We'll be looking to get that presentation on the website probably first thing next week. So, once this session ends, we take the recording and then upload it to YouTube and then link it through the Vantage Academy page for Think Tank Thursday. So it should be up there first part of next week. And unless I see any other hands or questions pop up, I want to thank Denise and Lisa for their time today and their time spent in advance of this session to prepare for it. I think it was very informational. As Roger said, it's a little daunting, but if you didn't understand something, feel free to reach out, get a hold of me. I'd be glad to answer your questions and hopefully make us all more successful online going forward. Thanks for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again on one of our future webcasts.